The Electoral College, it is vital. The Electoral College has been under attack in recent years for many different reasons, but mainly because there have been 2 upset presidential elections in recent years. Here are the reasons we still need it. Everyone's vote matters. The Electoral College makes it so that presidential candidates have to campaign everywhere, not just single states with large populations. It also allows people to vote for who they please, which means it causes the candidates to win by a larger margin by limiting the options to only 2 candidates. Limiting the number of candidates means that the majority of the U.S. population is represented by the president that wins the election. Without the Electoral College in place, it means that there would be many more than only 2 presidential candidates. This would cause voters to vote for many different candidates, splitting the amount of votes that people would get amongst everyone. Limiting the number of candidates to 2 people means that they would win by a larger margin and therefore represent the country in a much better way. Legitimate and reliable results. The Electoral College limits the need for large-scale recounts. It makes victories clear, with a candidate needing over 50% of the electoral votes to win the election. It also encourages political moderation in order to maintain reliable results and unification behind a candidate. Similar to campaigning in many areas of the United States, presidential candidates need to moderate their beliefs in order to gain the trust of other voters. This means that presidents elected would better represent the population as a whole through the moderation of their beliefs and the unification behind the entire population. Safe and stable elections. The Electoral College creates an environment that is less likely to require recounts in general. It also causes candidates to campaign to all demographics of our population, similar to points made earlier. To recap earlier points, candidates of the presidential election must moderate their votes in order to reach voters that they disagree with. They have to focus on all areas of the United States and all different populations and cultures as well in order to win enough electoral votes to secure the presidency. One example of the avoidance of pure democracy was the presidential election of 2000, which was between George W. Bush and Al Gore. If the presidential election was purely Democratic in its decision, Bush and Gore would have simply spent their time campaigning in Texas and California, as well as other large states, to ensure a majority popular vote. Instead, the focus was on Florida, which had to recount their votes during this election. The Electoral College ensures that any recounts necessary are only limited to the states that need it. Without the Electoral College in place, the entire nation would have needed to recount their votes in this election. Due to this, it leads many to believe that Florida was the deciding factor for the presidential election of 2000. What people tend to miss, or forget entirely, about this presidential election was that West Virginia was actually the deciding factor in terms of the Electoral College's votes. West Virginia during this period of the United States typically voted Democrat. Due to this, Gore did not feel it was necessary to focus on West Virginia at all, but Bush, knowing how the Electoral College works, campaigned there and turned the tide. As it turns out, the 5 electoral votes of West Virginia were the deciding votes of the 2000 presidential election.